Today it's not going to be a package from China today, because we're going to be having a package from Canada. We're going to be talking about the Neo 01. However, when it comes to this black box, with no information whatsoever, we're going to be having something different. So I already did a review about the Neo 1 thingy, but the point is like, hey, they did some improvements. Seriously, like they're going to be changing out things and bringing this to another level, or at least that's what I understand of. We're going to be having two controllers, so the form factor itself and the controllers, we're going to be having telling a story about that because it's quite interesting. So however, we're going to be having the power supply. This is of course the manual and the box itself. So when it comes to the box itself, there is nothing like a lot of, let's say there's not like a lot of information going on over here. But why is this? There we go. I just needed to do that off camera. But when it comes to the box itself, in here we're going to be finding some adjustments. So first of all, we're going to be still using the Neo 01 game box. And you know, this is not like the most powerful game box out there. I was also to be clear about that. So when it comes to the configuration, we don't have an SD card anymore. And that's with the reason, we're going to be opening this up. We're going to be having a hard drive. Yeah, so I understand, and I also completely understand this is going to be so much more actually cheaper to create this, because these 1 terabyte drives are going to be so much more cheaper to buy than an SD card. But what I understand of, and let me know in the comments what you think, is that this is going to be so much more reliable. So we're going to be plugging this into the USB 3.0 port, and we're going to be having like a retro emulation beast at this point. 1 terabyte of storage capacity. So, and also what I've noticed, like the drive is going to be, even if it's not an SSD, this is going to be so much more faster communication and a lot more reliable and overall faster experience. Then we're going to be a remote that we're not going to be mentioning anymore because we're not going to be needing that. So we're going to be having the multi-screen and all kinds of information. I think this is just the typical, let's say, Android box information. I'm also not going to be needing HDMI for plugging in. And the power supply. And I think I need an adapter for that. The power supply is still the same, so we're going to be utilizing the same. I think this is 5 volt 2 amp. If you're going to be losing it, you know, with the barrel jack, with this particular yellow barrel jack connection. So that's what we're going to be needing. We're going to be getting an adapter, but let's do a little bit chit chat about the controllers. So he told me that he had completely new controllers because the older one had some, I want to say issues, but there were some things going on. However, and I just talked to him about it, but normally I'm going to be full raging on these controllers for the simple reason, because I'm the D-pad fetish guy. It's not like super bad for navigation, it's fine, but for fighting games, this is not the D-pad you want to. But what I understand of after talking with him, if you're going to be configuring emulators and everything with these controllers, sometimes what the Chinese do, they completely remove or change out the encoder board. Meaning is that if you're going to be setting everything up, that is what is with these boxes, you're going to be having a plug and play solution, and he's getting new controllers, he plugged it in and everything was messed up because they changed out the internal encoder board. So that's the reason why he went for these controls, but it's because they're reliable and they are overall, actually, so much, let's say, better when it comes to communication with the emulator itself. So we're going to be having implementation of the turbo button, and I think that is pretty convenient if you're going to be playing some shmups or so. So, but the overall touch itself is not like super bad. I must say the configuration of the buttons, you can see there is a little bit of an edge over here going on regarding the form factor, but also the form factor is very comfortable, and the controller doesn't have like the cheap feel on top when it comes to the shoulder buttons. So we're going to be removing the piece of plastic over here, adding the dongle, putting the batteries in and turning it on over here. We have an on-off switch, but that's actually the story of the controls. And actually when he told me this, yeah, that makes actually kind of sense when it comes to like having one single controller that doesn't disappoint. He uses Amiga for actually the overall game system. You don't need any internet whatsoever. So it will take up a little bit of time actually for booting up the device itself. So let's put in some batteries and let's do a quick overview and let's see what we're getting with this particular device. So the device has been running for hours now. Before I wanted to do the video, I just wanted to mess around with it, but also to see how hot it was going to be if you're going to be using this for many, many hours to come. I love it. It has this very cool, like say, demo mode. But let's take a close look at the menu and everything. But first, let's press start and unlock the user interface. That is something we're going to be needing to do. And yeah, let's see if we can actually manage to do that. Wasn't this the code like AAABAA? Oh yeah, it is. But before you're going to be doing that, I'm only doing this for purpose for reviewing. So what you can actually do is mess around with the settings, but everything has been preset, so you don't actually need to change anything out. But I wanted to do this actually with one simple reason. I wanted to go to the system settings, want to deep dive and just see where it goes when it comes to the temperature. So this thing is hitting like 70 Celsius, idle. I mean like idle, actually like being used for demoing for absolutely a very long time period. So that's actually the temperatures, and I just wanted to showcase what's going on. It will recognize the external hard drive. And when it comes to the specs itself, we're going to be having the S905X4 with the Mali G31. But again, what I mentioned before, you don't really need to do that and unlocking everything. But let's take a close look at just the menu itself. So menu-wise, this thing has given a completely overhaul, and I must say the overall navigation, it's like really nice. I must say that I really like it, simply because this works indeed like way faster than with, let's say, the SD card itself, strangely. Of course, it still needs to load in. I mean, if you're going to be looking at the way how this actually performs, like you're clicking to a certain platform, it automatically loads in all kinds of different videos. I have seen a lot of images doesn't even do that and have like a lot of struggles. Getting into a game over here, we do have like a lot of different kind of games that we can check out. So we do have Doom. That's one thing I should be fixed. I don't know why there's 2 times Doom over here. But we're having all kinds of Doom games, Hexen, then Ultimate Doom. Everything has some so far. Pictures. We're having the Odyssey, a television, MSX 1 and 2, Vectrex, PC Engine, and there is so a crazy amount of different platforms on here. I love that they implemented the NES Hex. You do see that more often with the other boxes too. But with NES Hex, I will give you an example. So we're having over here all-in-one cards and betas, Hex, homebrew, unlicensed, NES on a chip, translations, and unreleased. So you know there's all kinds of cool stuff. So with Hex, let's see what's going on. So we're having over here some games I have never heard of. But we don't have any screenshots over here because they're actually not like screenshots you can actually scrape, or you need to make them yourself. So it's kind of cool to have seen like enhancement versions, bug fix, you know, all kinds of different games. But that's something we're going to be doing in the testing. We're having GB Hack. I do want like what is the Game Boy Hack version. It's kind of cool to have like translations, games that were never released in Europe or the US. We're having homebrew and other ones. It's kind of cool they have like implemented a couple of those pictures, having different hacks over here. But let's go further. Virtual Boy N64. So it's kind of cool that N64 is of course on here, but with the S905X4 chip we're going to be having okay performance. It's not going to be like 100% compatibility, but we're going to be deep diving in to see what we can actually play there. Cool, they also implemented GBA hacks. So that's kind of interesting, like Doom from the PC converted to the GBA. And also the Final Fight 1 arcade remix. Panasonic 3DO, ports, Beats of Rage, or Open Beats of Rage. That's kind of cool. I love Street of Rage, so we have all kinds of custom editions. And there are a lot of them. As you can see, like a very cool overall collection. Atomic Wave, Sega SG-1000. Some of the systems you do see more often with game sticks. Genesis ROM hack. Do wonder what's in here. It's cool that they have the enhanced color version of the Art of Fighting. Sega Game Gear hacks, Mega Drive ROM hacks, Sega 32X. I do wonder when the 32X, if there's like some other custom games. Oh, having the hack version over here. Let's see. Oh, that's cool. We're having Ultimate Doom. We're having a 32X Delta Edition, Mortal Kombat 2 Ultimate Edition, Sonic in Gaiotics. You know, and that's what I love about these, let's say, weird things. Sega Saturn, Dreamcast, Naomi. And as you can see over here, there is actually a crazy amount. And of course, kind of cool, they implemented 2 and 4 player option too. That's another thing I also seen with those Chinese boxes. But image wise, this is absolutely so much better when it actually comes to like most of the things I have seen. But let's deep dive into some overall gaming. But so just start off with some arcade. So arcade in general is working pretty well nowadays on these simple boxes. However, when it comes to simulation, we're going to be finding some limitations. Killer Instinct, Tekken and some more demanding MAME games will not work. I must say that where I am not a big fan of the D-pad itself, or at least like the full buttons, we cannot even call this a D-pad. It's actually not that bad when it's come for playing with the beat 'em ups. And what I mentioned on the, let's say, unboxing part is that this thing is quite comfortable actually. But of course we can also use the joystick itself. So let's take a close look at some more arcade with some afterburner. So throughout, let's say, emulation, I'm always getting a little bit of comments that I'm always playing the same kind of game. So let's try something else. But the reason I'm just playing the same games with the simple reason is that I just love these games and I'm so known to them with the audio and visual part. For me, it's like super easy to tell if something is off. But beside that, this game is crazy. The Atari 2600, so let's play a little bit of tic-tac-toe. Let's see if I can even boot it up. A game called Amiga. There's another game that I had never played before. Can I move to the other part? Oh, there we go. So when it comes to the Atari part, this is something before my time. I actually never had an Atari 2600, so it's kind of funny to actually see these games now. But isn't this like something that is from the arcades too? And you just need to basically complete these lines. Oh, here he comes. Atari ST is on a system I've never seen before, but I'm not really fond of this, with a simple reason. We can mess around with the speed and so, but this is of course a machine that was like intended to have a keyboard, I'm guessing, because we can actually implement the keyboard. Let's see if we can find the button to switch between, not the speeds, but the joystick over here. I have a joystick too, but I cannot move around. I think I will do something wrong. Pressing select and start will give you the option to go back to the menu, but we can make a quick local save by pressing both of the joysticks, so that's kind of cool. But let's close the content, and not a big fan of this in general. Crystal Mines 2 for the Atari Lynx. Crystal Miner or Mine, whatever it's called. I did play that actually on the original system. I did a full video on this particular device. Let's see if we can do something over here. Oh, that's how it works. We're still in the Atari section with the Atari Jaguar. Atari Jaguar is another system that I have myself, and I do not have any connection with this at this point. So I'm still trying to look. But you know, it's kind of interesting to see what kind of games were actually released for this device. Also Doom and everything, but not everyone was like really glad about this overall system. But let's see, let's start with Atari cards. Let's see how that runs. But the Jaguar itself is always a very problematic overall emulator because it's quite difficult to emulate. And I've seen it on, let's say, more demanding devices. So this is absolutely a pass for me. It's cool that it's on here, but I would just remove it at this point because it's stuttering already from the intro. But of course we're going to be doing a little bit of a gameplay because we don't want to, let's say, stop testing it out when it comes to the overall situation over here with just the intro. But you can just see that this is not really playable at this point. Wonderswan. So we're actually having the Wonderswan and we're going to be having the Wonderswan color. So let's deep dive into this to see what is going on. Another handheld I would love to check out in the future. Crazy Climber. Okay. Oh yeah. That's not supposed how it's looking. Can I switch it? Sometimes we can actually switch, but okay, so this means that the game isn't configured correctly. Can I just boot it up? Okay, we can change. Oh, there we go. Ah, okay. I just wanted to see. I actually pressed that mode button over here. So that was the reason why. Oh, that is some really very strange overall configuration. This is a really interesting but weird game. And there's nothing to do with the emulator itself. Just go to bashing. No, that doesn't work. Yeah, let's just move to another thing. Oh man. The Wonderswan color was actually made, of course, in the for the Japanese market, I understand of. I don't know if they ever released it in different regions, but you can see there was a lot of, yes, I want to say anime based, but because of the words starting to get weird, but there were a lot of, let's say, RPGs, you know, and that's actually what's going on. But what is kind of cool that we're having games like Golden Axe and Guilty Gear. That is cool. And this Golden Axe is pretty good. And I can tell you, that makes me really actually exciting to get myself one of these, let's say, devices. Regarding the bezels, what is a little bit of a bummer is that I do have the idea that this is widescreen, but they put some bezel over it. And you can see that the bezels are actually over the overall, let's say, text, everything. See, that's what I mean. I seriously suck at Golden Axe. I have no idea what just happened. And I still don't know how to do my freaking combo move. Oh, there we go. Never played Guilty Gear Pit Heat. I think it's called. This looks pretty cool. So I don't, looks like it's not configured, so that's a little bit of a bummer. Oh yeah, I can do moves. Horrible soundtrack. Horrible. Uzebox is another system that I have never seen before, or at least like most of these plug and play game sticks. So what is actually going on this? Like, there's all kinds of random like things. Bomberman 2, work in progress. Bugs. This looks like a load runner of some kind. But let's check out one single game to see what's going on, because Final Blood is one of those games I can still remember. Yeah. Do you know what's kind of funny? If you're looking at the picture, you can even see that the screenshots are from Hank. Oh, that is funny. Let's go with Arkanoid. Also, the analog stick doesn't do anything. So we're going to be needing the D-pad. I almost say that if you're just pressing left or right, the overall D-pad is fine. It's kind of weird. I'm really starting to like the controller. Oh crap, I'm small again. Oh, got sticky ball. Yeah. Oh, that's freaking awesome. Is this the large one? Oh, we got the shooting one. Oh, that is freaking awesome. No, I don't want power-ups. I want power-ups. Yeah. Do I still have the guns? No, that's unfortunate. I can do this all freaking night. Oh. So with arcade we're also having the Capcom systems, and all three of them. However, there's one particular game that has some really fun memories. And I'm not talking about Cadillac and Dinosaurs. No, I'm talking about Carrier Air Wing. I can still remember that I played this game so many times on the freaking arcade machine at home. And this is one of those games I can't keep playing. So what makes this game so freaking epic is that with this particular game you can just actually buy upgrades and just Every single freaking stage was different. I think it's still one of my favorite shmups to just play. And emulation performance, it's great. It's unfortunate that he didn't implement the joystick, because this is one of the games I would love to play with a joystick. And I'm in particular with the joystick itself. Oh, I need to get used to the D-pad now. By getting upgrades. Oh yeah, we got the rockets. But also now we do have like the CPS3 system with some old school Street Fighter, man. This is such a game that I love and runs perfectly flawlessly on these boxes nowadays. But here we're going to be having the problem itself that, you know, playing the game and doing moves is actually possible. But it's going to be hurting my fingers because of the separate buttons. It's not going to be anything of an overall comfortable situation. Let's see how the overall joystick is. No, joystick isn't correctly configured with Final Burn Neo, so that's quite unfortunate. I mentioned before that Atari and Commodore 64 are actually like one of those systems that I never had, and the same goes for the Amiga. So when it comes to these older systems, I'm just going to be honest, the Colceco Vision is something that is really appealing to me. But I just want to actually find out if you're going to be having some of the fun when it comes to play-to-play situation. Let's go with Boulder Dash. That's a game I really love. Let's go really old school with some Boulder Dash. Let's see if we can even boot it up. Let's find the start button, or the button I'm going to be needing. That sound effect. Yeah. But in the end, it's playable. I can still remember that I did play it a lot on my PC. I had like this old Pentium PC where I actually played this. You had also these very strange overall enemies that you need to look out for. This is some really old school stuff. Physics, yeah. So Alternate Beast on the Commodore 64. You know, is that a friend of mine always had like a Commodore 64 and I had an NES. I was always like fascinated by the massive floppies. I think it was like a 5.25 they call these things. Like interesting, these big floppy things. We can even have the keyboard enabled. But for me, you know, when you're going to be having, I have no nostalgia feeling for this. It's still searching for and loading. Oh man, seriously? It's like actually emulating the way how it's loading up the game. Oh man. Then the system Amiga. I do have memories, or it's recently, because Amiga, it always reminds me of Tim from the Team Pandora team. He's for me the Amiga guy. He's like a huge fan of this. So let's take a close look at Amiga, especially for him. Let's see what kind of stuff is actually in here. Let's see if we can find a game that is absolutely just fun to actually check out. There are a lot of fun games actually to check out, but I was wondering about like the overall quality. Like Alien Storm, we have all kinds of interesting titles. No Alternate Beast today for me. Tried it before with different systems. Arkanoid, same. I don't know what happened, but I wanted to boot up into the Amiga, but I'm not getting any input support now. Can I reset? Yeah, I can go back to the menu. Let's try BC Kit. And again, we're going to be having input not supported. Weird. So then let's move to the Amiga CD2D2. And again, Battletoads. Okay, that is pretty cool. Bam, 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 bam. So that's kind of cool that we have like these very interesting sound effects. But how is the graphical part? Yeah, to be honest, I'm not really impressed by the overall graphical part. Everything looks like on turbo mode. Oh, he just jumped off a cliff. No, I'm not surprised by this. But it does contain a lot of classics. Doom, Heretic, or do I even pronounce it correctly? Hexen. But does it run Doom? Let's find out. It does actually run Doom. But this is what we call the Silent Doom. Chicken Doom. But Heretic doesn't boot up. I'm gonna show you. Just getting a black screen, loading, loading, and it goes back to Heretic. Yeah, okay, so let's try Heretic, this one. Let's see if this thing actually boot up. But there was still a lot of work going on that we need to be doing with this particular device, simply because there was so much actually going on. I think that's the biggest problem. We have so many devices on one single system, with the simple reason because it's going to be absolutely a nightmare to get everything to work. But PC Engine, another amazing system, so if you get the chance to get yourself an original system, this is absolutely an awesome device. However, emulation is perfect. And I think that's going to be the same for many 8-bit or 16-bit games. And the PC Engine also had like this super turbo graphic thing going on. Not really familiar with it. It doesn't have like a lot of games, a couple of them. And I think if you're going to be collecting for this particular system, it's going to be absolutely crazy to find these things. However, graphical wise, they're not bad at all. Well, I was always like kind of surprised how good the PC Engine itself works. They should call this like the Super Slicer. But let's move into some familiar stuff with some Adventure Island number 3. Yep, some NES part. So if you just want to play NES, I think there are so many different options out there nowadays. We can just find game sticks that can do this just great overall emulation with aspect ratio, and you're just going to be paying like 15 bucks. So you need to take consideration if you have a system like this where this can play so freaking much. What do you actually want to play? Castellian or Castellier for the Game Boy Classic. So this is the game that I have some really, I have mixed feelings about this. Let's put it this way, because this is such an interesting game. Oh yeah, crap. I already forgot that. Okay, this is the reason why I hate this game, because it's full of tricks, but you need to be very quickly with some parts. But man, I play this a lot on the Game Boy. Woo! Let's see. And I messed it up. And I drowned again. See, that's why I hated the game. So when it comes for the overall gameplay of Metal and having the Super NES, still he didn't configure the joystick, so that's a little bit of a bummer again. But you know, for playing shmups, it's okay, but I really need to get used to the D-pad itself. But overall performance is just great of Super NES. But then again, like when it comes to just playing the 8-bit, 16-bit era, there are so many cheaper solutions out there. I'm just going to be honest about that. But let's go into the N64 era. Man, I have so many fond memories where this is not even the best system of the time, let's say, what they released, let's put it that way. I think N64 was such an overall great system with games like Snowboard Kids that they're actually going to be showcasing here. So let's deep dive into it and let's see how the overall performance is. Snowboard Kids, an absolute game everybody should check out if you like Mario Kart itself. But so when it comes to emulation performance, with a lot of tweaking, they did manage to get this on the S95X4 to work to a point that it's absolutely enjoyable. But of course, don't be excited to begin with, because we still need to check it out. So first important element is the joystick of this. I can still remember for the sharp corners, we're going to be needing a good joystick. I have no idea how to do the super moves now, but I think it's all about timing. Ah, crap. Getting a power up. How do I do the power up? There we go. But this is really enjoyable. Absolutely. Okay, let's see. That's the thing. Oh no, 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 that's the hateable part about it. No! I actually wanted to showcase some more demanding games, the GoldenEye, but the GoldenEye game is not even optional to actually use on here. But again, it doesn't even matter because these games are quite difficult to overall emulate, or just messed it up with the list. I have no idea where it is, but so far looking into like in Cruising USA, stuff like that, it don't work. You're going to be needing a PC for that, but still, it depends on what kind of games do you want to play. There's still a lot of stuff you can actually play with the N64 part. So Hydro Thunder, oh, the first time I actually played this was on the Xbox 360. When they made that, like, I think it's like the new version of the remake, or how you want to call it. But this is such a cool game. How do I boost? And that's how. Woo! So what is even interesting, like beside all the emulation and craziness, like we do have ports, and ports that have some really cool games to it. A lot of games, of course, that we've seen before, but we also have like some really awesome things like Just a Jackrabbit or having some Doom. Does this Doom actually have some sound, and does it boot up? And the answer is yes. So they should like completely remove the other page. You can actually do that inside if you unlocked it. You can just remove the other part that was shown before, the Silent Doom. Yep, and this one does actually have audio. But thanks to Portmaster, what I understand, you can actually add more and more games. So we also have the option to actually add yourself your Sonic Mania game if you have bought it. So how many ways you can actually play freaking Sonic Mania? You can actually now add it to the 01. And I think that is pretty cool. And I'm fascinated to see that even with this lower power box, because there are so many better ones out there, you still have the option to actually add and play these modern games. So this box don't need to be everything about only retro. Yep, you can actually play these freaking games. So you can port them if you bought them, and you can just enjoy them through your 01. Super convenient. But I do wanted to try Cannonball, and this is a game that I've been seen in gazillion times on many different devices, but it doesn't work, unfortunate. So yeah, bummer. So we can also play old school Diablo on here. You know, and this is absolutely one of those very cool add-ons. It would even be cool if like an option to even add Diablo 2. I just used all of my potions, but so you still need to do some work yourself if you add new kind of games. So with Portmaster giving you an idea with managed ports, in here we do have the option to add yourself all kinds of different games that you actually bought. So if it's an Half-Life, or if you just want to add yourself a different one, you can actually just all add it over here. And I think it's something that we need to like deep dive into. It would be kind of cool, but this is actually also made for having this on handheld if you want to. But of course we can use it with this particular device too. And I think it's absolutely a very cool add-on. Why I do have the idea that's actually stuck now. But the loading times can be quite long. Yeah, I do hear some music, but there is nothing going on screen. But this needs to be Roller Coaster Tycoon, or Open Roller Coaster Tycoon. Oh yeah. This is not the way how you actually want to experience it. But it is cool. There is even a Commander Keen collection that we can just add and play. Oh, this is some really good memories. I always love to check it out in one of these, let's say, products. Okay, how can I start up? Do I need to press start over here? That brings me back to the freaking main screen. There we go. Okay, this is still start. How can I bounce? I have no idea how I did that. Oh, that's it. Oh, crap. So let's move into my favorite system, the Sega Genesis. Playing some Biohazard Battle. I can still remember that this game, I could, like back in the day where Sega was actually the end life, I could find this like for 25 bucks back in the day, like super cheap. Buying it, realizing how freaking awesome of a shoot 'em up this is. Such a crazy game, but what I understand of now, the original game is quite expensive, like many retro games, because it's so obscure. But this is like the best shmup I've played. No, but it was kind of cool. Let's see. No, there was another one that I need to have. Yeah, that's the one. Oh yeah. So there was one thing I wanted to do. It's like we have the turbo button. And there we go, the turbo button on the controller. Super convenient. Do you need the blue? I need the blue, white / color. There we go. No, no, not the blue, no! I need this one. Ah, nice. Sega 32X. And let's try this Mortal Kombat 2 Ultimate Edition. I love these hack games. So let's see what's so special about it. So first of all, when it comes to the 32X, particularly if you're going to be playing this game on the original hardware, it's so cool because this thing was pretty close to the original arcade version, what I understand of. But now we can just even have like better versions out there. They implemented all of the sound effects. I must say, for this controller D-pad, actually playing this game, it's absolutely a miracle that I can do some freaking moves. That makes me wonder how the overall hack is made, because this is Sonic and Knuckles Chaotix. Okay, so they didn't change anything in the title. Wait, what? I thought it was with Sonic. Where the heck is Sonic? That is pretty weird. Let's get into the game. Come up, there we go. Is Sonic in there? Nope, Sonic is not in there. What a lousy freaking hack version. What a disappointment. Sega Saturn emulation is available on this, and I'm really surprised that we're going to be finding more and more, let's say, game sticks and boxes with Saturn. However, the S95X4 is actually capable of running this. However, it's going to be a hit or miss. I mean, the two-dimensional stuff like the Darius Gatem I'm playing over here runs just fine. It's not going to be an issue, but you need to take consideration it's going to be depending what kind of game you actually want to play. But I just want to pick up a simple game. The downside is actually that the overall audio, I don't know what kind of emulator you're using, but the audio, it's pretty low when it comes to that. I think it's like a general thing when it comes to the Saturn emulation, when you're going to be combining this with the Yabashiro emulator. Okay, did I mess it up or what happened? What? So let's give this thing another attempt. Let's see if I can actually figure out a way to boot up the game. It's always like, how do I need to beat up? Okay, how do you boot it up? Because there's one single button. It's kind of weird. Like, is it the triangle for the PlayStation gamers or the X for the? I needed to think about it, like the X for the Xbox gamers. But the point is actually that it's very strange. You know, it's always strange with Sega Saturn. I'm guessing due to the controller. But so far, it seems to be working just fine out of the box. But again, the audio is really low. And my monitor is, by the way, on 100%. So normally it would like be crazy loud here in the studio, but it's not happening anytime here soon with this Yabashiro emulator, or at least the Sega Saturn in general. But emulation performance, yeah man, it's great. So with Sonic and CD, I have some really fond memories. However, you know what's kind of funny? I just needed to tell the story that I picked up, I'd say maybe 20 years ago, some guy, random guy, sold me like a box full of Sega stuff, and in there was like Sonic CD with Sonic Mega CD. But the experience was different because the overall audio was different. The title screen, I just love that one. So moving on to the Dreamcast. And Sega Dreamcast emulation on native resolution, it's not going to be a problem nowadays. But of course, let's force this thing into its maximum potential with some Dead Alive 2. You do hear some minor hiccups. There we go. That's exactly what I wanted to show you. Giga Wing. I already heard some minor hiccups like with Dead Alive 2. So this is like one of those systems that is just, or platforms actually pushing the system to its limit. We're going to be needing way more power to have like perfect emulation throughout. And of course, what kind of emulator are they using? I'm a fan of the Dream emulator personally. Let me know in the comments what you think. But the point is that we're going to be playing this. You can see that in the game, there's not like weird shenanigans going on. So this device doesn't support PlayStation 2, but we do have PlayStation 1 and PlayStation Portable. So with the many books I've tested out, a lot of problems came from the audio. And let's see what's going on. Wow, we do actually have audio, but the audio is stuttering. Oh, there we go. Well, it's kind of weird, like I had the idea that it couldn't load up into the system, but finally we got my favorite soundtracks of Assault Rigs. It was such a cool game. Played this a crazy amount. I can still remember that I had this with a couple of games in the overall collection from a store that was like, I think it was like bankruptcy or stopping selling stuff, and man, I picked it up. At first thinking, what is this for kind of wicked game? But realizing that I fell completely in love with Assault Rigs with the simple reason the gameplay was simple, more like a puzzle shooting game, but also the music. The music itself made this game so freaking awesome. Listen to this. So with Die Hard Trilogy, I have been playing this on many different devices. So native resolution, where this is also running on, I can tell you that it runs just fine. However, when it comes to this particular game, I also noticed that many of those, let's say, Gamebox things had no audio. And this does actually have that. And I understand, like with those cheaper Gamebox thingies, they remove it because they don't have a lot of space. Because the audio itself takes up a lot of space itself. Walking around like a freaking Terminator. Where Sega Saturn and Dreamcast pushing this device to its limits, PlayStation Portable, I think it's the most difficult one to actually emulate. So if you're going to be playing games, yeah, you're going to be having a lot of simple games that run okay on here. But if you're going to be looking into like the more demanding games, don't expect a God of War to run full speed. So they're running into the PSP emulator, and so it's running an OpenGL, over here 2x resolution. That's kind of weird. Like, I understand they're using the 2x resolution because it looks so much better, but you're going to be having frame skip enabled. So there's a little bit of a situation. I'm thinking, yeah, is this the right choice? So let's see what's going on. Fire It Up is absolutely the first game that I personally ever played on the PlayStation Portable. And with a simple reason, because this game reminds me of freaking Twisted Metal that I later bought. However, let's check it out. Can we make a save file? We can actually do that. But let's deep dive into a little bit of gameplay. So the overall, let's say, simplicity of this game. It was a launch title, and it was also like feel like launch title. But still, I can still remember when actually seeing this on the PlayStation Portable the first time, I was just freaking flabbergasted. Minor dip there. Now, many games, even the three-dimensional games, can be played on this box without any problem whatsoever. But there you have it. There is actually so much more to find and play on a game box like this. Personally, I love the overall layout when it comes to the way how this looks. It's just clean, it's simple, and it works when it comes to like finding your particular system. Also, the list itself with everything is clear, very easy to read, and the overall performance is what you can expect from a device like this. The Neo 01 1TB edition. So this is not the most powerful or the best game box out there. So where this thing comes with a hefty price tag, but it is for a good reason, because I don't even want to know how much time went into this to actually optimizing it, because this is what actually happened. It's not the most powerful out there, but the S905 X4 is like a chip that can support a lot of older but also newer systems. And I was really surprised how many systems like N64 has some really good overall performance. Combined with the 1TB, you have like a lot of great performance, and what is interesting, you have like a lot of music with PlayStation 1 for example, and it comes with so much benefits. However, the controller, where I was not really fond of in the beginning, I must say throughout like testing, I must say that I was falling a little bit of love in this, not because of the D-pad itself, but hey, I could do some moves, and yeah, when it comes to the overall form factor, I really enjoyed it when it comes to that. The built-in turbo button is super convenient for playing a couple of games that is absolutely need of a turbo button, because you otherwise need to keep bashing the freaking button. So yeah, out of the box, this is one of the better solutions out there when it comes to optimization, but of course, it's still not perfect. Thank you all, let me know in the comments what do you think, and it will be great to see you in the next video.